May the Force.
Force. The Force.
Force. Force.
Force.
The Force will be with you. Always.
Welcome to Star Wars Uplink, your source for everything Star Wars gaming. Welcome to this episode of Star Wars Uplink. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, and as always, I'm joined by Sydney Laurel. How are you doing?
Hey.
I feel so like newscasty.
I know. I have to look at you with a side eye.
I know. So, if you're listening to this in the audio version, the video version, we switched up the set a little bit, and something I also noticed while I was fixing my hair for this for the video thing, because that's what I have to do now.
Yeah.
I wore the same shirt as I did last week. You know, I was just feeling like Empire Strikes Back today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's like a Friday go-to for me, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Subconsciously, I was just like, okay, yeah, Star Wars.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, we were going to record one day, like a couple weeks ago or something, but then we ended up pushing it to the next day.
Yeah, I think it was the last episode.
Yeah. And I was wearing like the exact outfit of the previous time, so I was really glad that we pushed it so that I was wearing something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was this.
That's hilarious. Like, that's so like.
You're all gonna see this a lot.
What are the chances?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
But hey, I've also got some other Star Wars shirts. I'll throw those on too. I think maybe next episode I'll do the Hawaiian Star Wars shirt.
Oh, that'd be good.
I don't even know why we're talking about this.
I don't know either. This is where we begin.
We're starting with this. But in today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about our hopes for the Obi-Wan show after a short break. So let's jump right in and start talking about it.
Just you reconsider playing that message for him.
Okay, so on Twitter, friend of the podcast, Scout, which he's like infamous in the Star Wars community. I don't understand how he is everywhere, but that dude seems to be like
He's a scout.
Literally everywhere. I don't even know how I started following him, but I did a long time ago.
Huh.
Yeah. So I think it's because he was doing a lot of he does a lot of like my own creation Lego stuff, and most of it's like Star Wars. Like his pinned one is this Executor class thing that he did. But he also yesterday, depending on time frame and whatever, he did a thread on Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, and how it is quote a mess. And I want to talk about that because I agree with some of his points here, and I wanted to kind of lay them out. Yeah. So let's jump right in. He wants to go over the pros first. And again, I want to preface this. I've loved this show. I've loved this game so much. Like, yes, it's janky in some places. It's inconsistent and the pacing is off, which he gets into. But like, I really enjoy it. I just wish they kind of fleshed out certain areas. But we'll talk about that as we dive deeper into this section. He starts off with fantastic combat, good humor, great voice acting performances with few exceptions, decent flying mechanics and controls when not on rails, great graphics, good open world environments, good sound design, breaking objects is very satisfying, multiple paths you can take and levels. Like all those things I 100% agree with. Like pretty much everything except for there was a few scenes where like the voiceover was a lot louder than everything else.
Huh.
Like in the underwater segment, like they were right there.
Yeah.
Like in the headset, they were drowning out everything else. You know, like when you watch a bad movie, and they didn't do the voiceover well.
Yep.
Like they didn't do the mix very well.
Yep. There's like this cleared like. It's almost audible how off it is.
It's like if we did the podcast like this. Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Star Wars Uplink. And then like midway through the sentence it's like, welcome to this episode of Star Wars Uplink. Like we were super close to it. That's how it felt. So some of the sound design is a little bit off, but again, easy fix. And I don't know why it's like that. It's very strange.
It's probably just something they missed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Humor, fantastic. Like as you can see on stream, like when I'm playing through it, I am like laughing out loud, and like I'm not like turning my reactions to like 11 or anything. It is truly, I'm having that reaction like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I can't believe that that they did that.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's so good.
Do you agree with the flight mechanics?
I do not agree with the flight mechanics.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
what I
think
was
the flight
surprised
mechanics
about.
are good. I think that they are subpar at best, especially when you look at the other Star Wars games. Like when you look at Battlefront 2015, when you look at Battlefront 2, when you look at Star Wars Squadrons is the best example of fighter gameplay in the last probably 30 years ever, honestly. So I don't agree with that. There's just there's something off about it. Like you know when you like naturally go to start doing something and it doesn't work that way. That's how it feels every time I fly.
Yep. No, I agree. Yeah, it's almost like they're straddling the line between very simple, which you feel like it should be, and complex. Like there's this like imbalance of it, and it's almost like they try to do too much. But it is simple. It's just it's not how your natural brain wants to do it for some reason.
Something is off with the controls, and I can't quite nail it
I think
down.
it's because, especially on a console, you're so used to the two.
That's
joysticks,
true, yeah.
and you
Because
don't
one controls the camera, like the
usually
view on the right.
Yeah, but I think at least from what
It's mainly left.
Yeah, it's
the
mostly
left
the
toggle
left
is the
one
only one
to
used,
move,
really.
and you can't really see
And
anything
that
else.
is exactly it. Because every time I'm playing it, I'm like, I'm
you
trying
wanna
to do
use
something
the other
with the
one.
right one.
Yep. Yeah. So it's almost too simplified, but
Those should be two separate sticks.
yeah,
I don't even remember what the right one does, but it shouldn't do that.
I don't think it does anything.
I think it moves the camera a bit. Yeah, because you can go up and down and then left and right, and then you move the camera in a way that like doesn't affect the gameplay.
Right.
That's
yeah.
what breaks it for me.
Yeah. It's like I feel like it should have just done absolutely nothing then. It's just so that you'd be like, oh, I can't do anything with that. So it like just to switch it off, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's just off. He also follows that up with a good blend of John Williams and the original soundtrack. I think so. I think the soundtrack, as well as the originals, the John Williams Star Wars stuff, and then their original stuff, I think flows really well. It's to the point where like you don't really notice it. It kind of takes what's there originally and extends it a little bit more and makes it fit the situation. Yeah, I can't say I've noticed the music. And I've
that's
also
a
got
good
mine
thing.
turned down a lot.
That's true.
For the stream, so I don't get copyright striked. But even
Right.
like the last stream that we did, I think I got copyright strike on that.
Really?
Yeah, for some reason. Like I don't understand it. Like, do you want us, Disney? Do you want us to promote your game? Stop freaking copyright striking us, bro. Stop it. But yeah, like I think they did a good mix there. Again, it does. I wish there was like a streamer safe version where they had like just enough to where the algorithm wouldn't pick it up as like the original stuff.
Right.
It was the
Just for those
same
key
thing
moments,
with.
but then
It's the same thing with Battlefront. Like I have to turn Battlefront. Like when I was streaming Battlefront 2, like I had to turn off the music.
Yeah.
So we could stream it. And then he gets into the cons. Abysmal pacing of both gameplay and cutscenes. Horrible selection of what gets to be a mission and what doesn't. You can't replay episodes, so you can't replay any non-level story sections unless you restart the whole game.
Really?
That's what really gets me. I think we had that
that.
discussion at some point, or I was having it with somebody.
Yeah, it wasn't me because that's the first time I've heard about it. I didn't realize you couldn't replay the levels.
No, I think we talked about it a little bit in terms of like the open world segments and how we couldn't, like, how does that work in the replay section? But yeah, you can't like replay an episode. You can replay the missions, but you can't replay the open world segments with that episode.
What?
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, I think that's a limitation of what
So, like in between the missions, you can't.
Yeah, you know how there's the main missions where you get the studs and you get the mini kits and then you get
You can
True
play
Jedi.
those,
You can replay those,
but
you
go.
can't replay the open world segments in between those as you would when you're first playing it.
That's not okay.
Unless you restart the whole game.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, from scratch.
But like those should, those things need to be the things that are like untouched, sort of thing. Like that.
Yeah,
shouldn't
you should
be
be able to
affected
play
by
that
what missions you're going through. Like
again.
that's just the open world that you can always go back to and jump around when you're in the. Okay, that does make me very peeved.
Yeah, and that's ultimately it's a limitation of that new design that they had with the fluidity between open world and mission. I think they failed in that because honestly, as much as it's cool, I would have preferred them and the classic style. We talked about this in the last episode. Like, am I an old man for thinking this, or is this how Lego games are going in the future? I think it's a poor decision to say, hey, you can't really. I wish they had open world segments, and then I wish they had story segments. Like, you're going through the levels, and that's all you can do.
Yep.
And then when you want to go to the open world, you can visit the open world segments.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's almost like they just need one giant spaceport for all of the open world sort of thing. Yeah. And you just choose your era.
Exactly. I think that would have been great.
Right.
But no, they don't let you do that, sadly.
So when you get to an open world, you just have to do the whole thing right then and there in order to be completionist sort of thing?
Like, if you want to experience the flow of the story in the episode again, you have to restart the game. But you can replay the story missions in terms of
like to complete those sort of things.
To get the mini kits.
Right. To get different characters in there and blah.
So sadly, that's the case. And I totally agree with the selection of what gets to be a mission and what doesn't. Because like there were so many cutscenes where I was like, this would be way more fun if I could play it.
Right.
Like, we didn't even get the Battle of the Jedi, really. Like,
really?
To the level. You didn't play it.
No.
So,
I kind of wanted to save that for, like, my own experience.
Not like the original ones.
Oh,
like,
yeah, no.
Yeah, you didn't play the complete Saga or Lego Star Wars 1, where you get, you're on Geonosis, everyone's in that big arena, the Jedi arena, like, when they're fighting.
Yeah.
Like, that's not really there. You also don't get to play the Battle of the Geonosis, really, which sucks. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I think it's limited by them trying to make one game that's around the same length of any other Lego game out of all of those movies.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They should have had like, this is 5 times bigger than any other Lego game in terms of the length to complete it. Because I think a lot of the stories struggled because they had to be so short.
Yeah, I could see that. Now, they've done other Lego Star Wars games.
Yes.
And have they fleshed them out more in those?
In the previous games, yes. They're much more fleshed out. So I think that's maybe the excuse. But like, then go back and remaster them to the level of like fidelity.
Right.
Because I want to play it, but I want to play it with that fidelity.
Yeah. It's almost too bad that they felt like they had to come out with everything all at once. Like, almost, it would have been nice if they could have just like promised more to come. Yeah.
Well, the last time they did that was with The Hobbit, and they never made those games. Because the Lego Hobbit game, it was the first and the second movie, and then they were going to have a DLC where they made the third one, but the third one never came.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
so they don't have a good track record of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Oof. He also mentions game-breaking bugs that should have never made it to release, especially after 2 years of polish. I had to restart my game many times, losing progress in whatever level I was on because of bugs that wouldn't let me progress. I was among the lucky too. Now, I think he played on PC, which again, it seems that PC games in the last few years since the pandemic, have gotten so much worse.
Really?
Elden Ring has a lot of PC game issues.
Really?
Battlefield has some issues on PC that console doesn't really have. So I wonder if it's just like a lack of PCs to test on. Like the QA testers don't really have those. I don't
so
know.
bizarre. Like, aren't they making this on a PC?
But like I only ran into 2 bugs in 8 hours of gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
One was a bug with quick resume, where I tried to quick resume it, had to quit it, and had to replay a level. But it was only like, it was the last mission of a level, fighting Jango Fett, which I was happy to find Jango Fett again. So that's when I had to replay.
Gotcha.
And then the weird thing where it paused a section.
Mm-hmm.
No, it wasn't the pause the section. It was the split screen.
Mm-hmm.
It tried to do split screen when
there was
no extra controller or anything like that. So 2 bugs. I would say that's perfectly reasonable for a game. So I don't agree with that point, at least in my experiences. But again, I've heard differing opinions for people that have played it on PC. And a few people, I think Battlefront Updates started playing on console because he couldn't do the PC controls were awful.
Oh, no.
And like, honestly, Traveler's Tales just doesn't do PC controls very well. Like the previous, like I tried to get Lego Lord of the Rings on Xbox, but it was before they added the backwards compatibility, and I had already purchased the game, the disc version. But I also saw that it was on sale on Steam, so I bought it on Steam too. And you play with WASD to move around, and then you use the arrows. It's 100% keyboard.
Okay.
There's no mouse.
There's no mouse.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And then I've heard of the mouse controls, which they said that they're heavily investing in PC controls in this game, but they haven't really. Like I saw some footage where it's like, unless if you have the DPI set at like the normal level, it's way too slow, and if you up it for the game, it's way too fast. So like there's no middle ground.
Oh no.
And most of the people I know like they switch to controller to play on PC, or they switch to console.
Mm-hmm. Oof. That's too bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he goes on to saying plots of multiple movies are butchered. If I hadn't seen Star Wars before, I wouldn't know what the heck is going on in anything. Scenes switch order are cut out or oversimplified to the point of confusion. Tarkin isn't even in A New Hope. Star Killer's firing isn't in The Force Awakens. So
what?
The Star Killer thing, I understand. Tarkin, ultimately, Tarkin doesn't really add a whole lot to the story in terms of, if you're condensing down the key points. And,
doesn't really need to be there.
Are you really playing the game if you've never watched Star Wars before? Is that a draw?
Yeah. I don't know.
Because Lego games have always been, you play it because you love Star Wars.
Right. Because you love the thing that it's representing, or, the thing that it's...
Yeah.
building upon, So yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly fair for them to make the assumption of you're a Star Wars fan if you're playing this game and not you're not again, some a friend of the podcast, Arcross, he was introduced to Star Wars through the video games, but I think it was Battlefront. I could be mistaken. But he played through the Lego games and enjoyed them. Or I know there are some people that have played the games, enjoyed them, and then went to experience. And I think it does it enough to where if you do enjoy the Lego game, you're going to ultimately enjoy the movies.
Yeah.
And I think it's a net advantage for them to be so different, because if you haven't played, then you will also experience it in a new lens and for the first time. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
You aren't really, you're getting spoiled on certain things, but as a whole, it's not corrupting the entire experience because it's 1-to-1 everything.
Yeah, yeah.
It'd be an enjoyable switch.
Right.
I think Attack of the Clones is very short, shorter than I would have liked it to be, mostly because I think Attack of the Clones in the movie is so heavily focused on the political aspect, the romance between Padme and Anakin. There are a lot of slow scenes, so if you are condensing that, it's ultimately going to be shorter than the movie would seem. Because there's a lot of those scenes where it just
you can't make that into interesting gameplay.
Yeah, let's have a selection of dialogue for Anakin and Padme that they're all cringe. That would be fun, but it's not ultimately going to make the game better.
No thanks.
Yeah.
I'm good. Leave that in the movies. But
Yeah.
Maybe not in the gameplay.
Yeah, I'm fine for like. I would have loved a joke about like the fruit and stuff. I think that would have been hilarious. But
yeah. Some kind of like base of pear splatting in the face or something would have been funny.
Yeah,
but.
it would have been great. Or it's like what would have been hilarious is if they have like a realistic looking fruit, because in the movie it looks so fake.
True. Uh-huh.
And then further on, he says, Stormtrooper helmets always come off when you get a headshot, so 90% of the time you aren't fighting Stormtroopers and the aesthetic is harmed. It's launched Battlefront 2015 all again, unresponsive PC controls and aim drift. So, like, yeah, I understand about the Stormtrooper helmets. I think it's a fun aspect, but again, I think he has somewhat of a point in terms of they... Actually, no, I don't really agree with that.
Yeah.
I think it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you shoot a headshot, it's just like a little thing like boop.
Yeah.
It's like if you play with Legos, the like helmets come off so easily.
Right, yeah.
So I think it's a fun nod to that side of things. And then he says many sections of the open world are completely inaccessible unless you restart the whole game. You can't revisit Starkiller, the Supremacy, the Radis, Home One, etc. Yeah.
That's sad.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they're there.
Right.
Why not have you be able to explore them? They put the
Right.
work to put them in the game. That seems like it'd be an easy fix, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they ultimately said, "Hey, this is something that we value," I think it's perfectly fine. It seems like it'd be a relatively easy fix. All boss fights feature the same attacks, no difficult option, no new game plus. Far too many unplayable characters, badly designed mechanics that halt the pace of the game. Yeah, like the one incredibly easy puzzle where you have to press the D-pad in the right direction, like that's literally just there to make you cause time. Like it's not difficult at all. And it doesn't punish you if you miss it either. Like you could barely get it. Like you could get it like not even to the, like you could have the circle and not even a quarter of the circle if you, as long as you press the same direction.
Oh,
and it
wow.
works perfectly.
Huh.
It slows you down, but it
Right.
doesn't, like if you waited to get it to the center, it's not going to slow you down more than that.
Right.
So I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
New Game Plus, I think would be cool. Boss fights feature the same attacks. Yeah. I mean,
sure.
most of it felt like very like, we're trying to stretch this out in a way without like adding new mechanics or anything like that. And I would love a difficulty option. I think a difficulty option would be great for this game. I do want let's dive in a little bit. He dives in a little bit deeper into the character roster. Character roster is extremely lacking. Sorry, Traveler's Tales, but you aren't scraping the bottom of the barrel for characters when Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen aren't even in the game. Why can't Geonosians be selectable characters when you can play as them when you mind trick them? Y'all really included Mama the Hutt instead of basic characters that are in the movies or even characters that are in the dang game and aren't playable. The awesome looking clone officers, they aren't selectable. Once again, why not? You can mind trick them. Yeah. And he says, extremely confusing and weird character selection menu, significant downgrade from past games, and no character customization. Yeah, we talked about this before, how like the character selector thing is, it's hard to know where you are, what characters to select. And if you are in the middle of a game, like if you're playing through the story, you can't even look at all of the characters. So I think having them all on that screen is just like a wonderful visual.
Yeah.
Instead of like going through their very problematic UI to like scroll through, and then if you accidentally click out of it, like it goes back to the main menu. Like it's just very frustrating. They have 300 plus characters, but like there's also a crap ton of other characters that you just can't play as.
Yeah.
Sadly.
But Star Wars is a world, you know? Like, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they promised us a lot, but also...
Again, I think it's ultimately, like, lacking in terms of they tried to do a whole lot without actually doing a whole lot. Like, they tried to get everything in this small package when you can't really do that well. It's Star Wars. It's 9 movies with iconic characters, and you're going to put characters that like don't really add to the story a whole lot when you could add more impactful ones, I think is definitely a clear issue that they have.
Yeah. But also, it's a Lego game. And I don't know. I mean, honestly, my
the best
experience...
parts of Legos are the characters, honestly,
Yeah.
the minifigs.
Yeah. But also, like, a lot of it, I don't know. I think a lot of it is okay. Like, I can overlook a lot of these problems.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's a
we
Lego
opened
game.
it with that,
and
yeah.
it's, I don't know. It's fun. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not really meant to be a challenge. It's meant to be a little mini Lego experience.
Yeah,
So
that's why I think it would have been great to have like a difficulty option. Like there's a standard one, but if you want to go like hardcore,
But what would that even look like?
I have no idea. Again, this is a Lego game.
Yeah.
It's for ages 10 and up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So it's not supposed to be something that you're like challenged
yeah,
with.
I'm like again really enjoying
Yeah.
it. Like even with all of those quirks, it's incredible. I love every second playing it. But there are certain decisions that they make where it's like, not really feeling that right now.
Yeah.
Like I wish they would have done it in a better way.
Yeah. Yeah, I really would like to be able to revisit open world areas.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
That's
for me.
all. Yeah, that's honestly the biggest thing I'm bummed about. It's like, oh dang it, I can't go back.
Yeah. So, I think ultimately though, I think he made some really good points. I think there are some things where like it takes a little bit of a stretch, but I think he adds some really good things, and hopefully they take some of that into account and they change it up. I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
Now let's take a little bit of a break, and we'll be back to discuss our thoughts on Kenobi. This podcast is a production of Uplink Media Group. Uplink is a podcast network dedicated to highlighting the love and experience of gaming and pop culture. Check out our other shows, The Battlefield Show, Star Wars Uplink, and The Forge, the Halo Infinite podcast, as well as our YouTube channels for even deeper dives into Battlefield, Star Wars, and more. YouTube.com/Uplink Podcast and StarWarsUplink.com.
Only different in your mind. You must unlearn what you have learned.
Kenobi.
I'm so pumped for this show. We've talked about it in the past before. As we're getting closer together with it, I think it's really cool. Also, another thing, before we talk about that, we do have a little bit of news around the Ashoka show. Bryce Dallas Howard is going to be directing, or at least part of the creation of this show.
Okay.
Which I'm super pumped for. Again, like she created, and I'm not joking, like some of my favorite, if not my favorite, Star Wars. Period. Like those episodes of The Mandalorian that she did is like everything that I want modern Star Wars to be. So, I mean, I think that is just a huge, huge staple for her. Like, I think she did an incredible job with that. So, I'm really excited.
We need to rewatch Mando.
We do,
because
yeah.
I can only think of the one where they're fighting the... they're on the island, or not the island, but the planet, and they're like helping out the village. That's the only one I know of.
That was
hers.
the one that she did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was the episode she
and
did.
so it always throws me off. Yeah, because
I did not like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So now that's the only one I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you say like she made the ones that
Yeah, the Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, Book of Boba Fett. Those
okay.
episodes. Those are the ones she did. She did those. So I think. Basically, Mandalorian 2.5.
Yeah.
She did those episodes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I'm so pumped for that.
Yeah, those were great.
Yeah. So she is getting involved with that. I'm really excited. Hopefully she adds a really good flair with that and doesn't get bogged down by Filoni's love of Ahsoka. So I think that could be a huge downside for anything involving her character, is how much he just loves, like, I know it would suck, and I don't know if it works in the timeline, but I think it would be great if she died in that. I also saw a take pretty recently that said she should have died in the Clone Wars. I think that would have been impactful.
Yeah.
Because, like, he was asked in an interview, because Ahsoka's voice is in the in the Force, talking about all of the Jedi are in you, Rey. Her voice is in that.
Interesting.
And then in an interview, he was asked if that meant that Ahsoka was dead. And he's like, no. It's like, dude.
The best people
She's
and
like
the heroes
80.
are the ones that are dead. You know,
Yeah.
like the ones that we
Because
can
they can
let
no
live.
longer ruin their image.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like, and also like, seriously, man, it's freaking Rise of Skywalker. How many years have passed since the Clone Wars?
Uh-huh.
She was a Padawan in the Clone Wars. So let's just say, I think she was like 15, something like that. In the Clone Wars, she went through the Rebels, the original trilogy, and then she went through another 20, 30 years between the original trilogy to the sequel trilogy, and then she's still alive? Like, Dave Filoni. She doesn't have to live forever. Come on, man.
Now, there was the time warp thing in Rebels.
I understand. Somewhat.
But yeah, otherwise, yeah. I mean, she's got to be pretty old right now.
Yeah, but that was in Rebels, which was the
Yeah.
original trilogy time frame.
Right.
And then she goes to the sequel trilogy and goes all the way through the sequel trilogy and ends up speaking to Rey through the Force. Yeah. So
Oh gosh.
I'm not really positive around the Ahsoka show.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
that's okay.
Dinko, but Dinko loves Ahsoka. But he also
Well,
doesn't
yeah.
love the live action Ahsoka. So I think he'd be fine with me saying that.
I agree.
Yeah.
The live action Ahsoka is
Mm-hmm.
not doing it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Animated Ahsoka was awesome.
Yeah, definitely. That's where she should have stayed, honestly. Especially the way they put her in the show, live action wise. Anyway, Kenobi.
Kenobi. Yes. Do you think we'll see her in Kenobi?
She would be around. This is after Order 66. I hope not.
I know, me too.
If we see a Jedi, I hope it's Cal Kestis, and I hope it is not Ahsoka. Cal Kestis would make so much more sense. It would be super cool to see a video game character go to live action. What is his name? The actor, Cameron Monaghan. Very skilled. I think he was in Riverdale or something like that. He was in like a very popular show, did a really good job with that. And then like he's a really skilled actor. He looks exactly like Cal Kestis because they modeled him after himself. So I think it would be great to see that. And it'd also be like the first time I believe that we've seen a character from the video games go into the movies in a live action way. We got Ahsoka into the movies. I think it'd be a great step for the investment into video games, like saying, hey, we love video games. It's a huge part of Star Wars now. We're really investing into that and we're tying our stories into it. I think it would be great. They already implemented some of the things without even knowing it. They were basically working on the same things for The Last Jedi by the time that came out, like with the whole going through the campaign and you see like the Force visions, and it was heavily kind of alluded to in The Last Jedi in terms of the like Force Skyping.
Oh yeah.
So they had some of those moments in Battlefront 2's campaign. So they had some of that stuff. Battlefront 2015's DLC inspired Rogue One's use of like the visualization of electric attacks. So that's cool. Like we're seeing these aspects of it where they know they're there.
Yeah.
Just give us the whole thing, man.
Yeah.
Like stop giving us the pecans on the top of the pie and give us the whole pie.
Yeah, and give credit where credit is due. You know, it's almost like we're just gonna borrow this for just a quick bit,
and it makes so much sense because Cal's whole story is so similar to Kenobi in terms of hiding from the Sith, hiding from the Empire, undercover Order 66, getting hunted down by the Inquisitors. I mean, could I be talking about Kenobi? Or am I talking about Fallen Order?
Right.
It could be either. I mean, we have so much ties there. It would make so much sense for them to have like a meetup there. I think it'd be awesome. Like it'd be so cool, especially since Obi-Wan is the person that sent out the holocron that has all of the lists of the Jedi. and the Padawans that they know of, that is the reason that Cal Kestis is on his mission. It would be the perfect tie-in to go from this to Kenobi, and then maybe that inspires what happens into the next Star Wars Jedi game with Cal.
Oh,
like that would be so cool.
Yeah, to see TV shows and games starting to work together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be so awesome.
That'd be really fun. But is it likely? I don't know. I don't know if it is.
I don't think so.
Considering we haven't ever seen it before,
it's
probably not likely.
Yeah. Would I like it? Would I love it? Absolutely. I think it'd be so cool. It would make so much more sense than if we got Ahsoka in it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Stop.
Dave. Stop it, Dave. I'm watching you.
Leave her out of this.
She doesn't need to be everything.
Can you imagine seeing...
I mean, that's basically what George Lucas did. Is like he'd love a character so much, he'd try to put that character in literally everything possible.
Yeah. Yep. Ugh. Oh, just seeing Ewan McGregor and
that
whoever she is.
Monstrosity of Ahsoka.
Yeah, together.
Yeah.
That's a no.
It makes... Oh, it's like that... as well as freaking Inquisitor bro.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like I'll see that picture online. I'm like, oh, why? No, please. Why? How did this get through reviews?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Who thought that looked good? In a bad way, because he's not supposed to look good. So
no, he's supposed to look
creepy,
menacing,
yes,
and fearing, and like imposing.
This looks like a big...
my name's Grand Inquisitor. Hello.
Just looks like a big white-headed baby.
What sucks too is apparently the actor they got for him is very skilled and talented, but like I'm not going to see that at all in his character delivery. Yeah, he looks so dumb. Like I don't care like if you have a freaking lightsaber to my throat. If I see you, bro, like I'm not terrified. Like you could kill me and I'd still be I would laugh the entire time you're slicing my throat. You look so dumb. Like I would die laughing because of how ridiculous he looks. Yep. So I'm looking forward to it though. Like seeing how they implement with the storylines that they want to do. We're almost a month away. We're getting really close. We're 42 days away from it, I think. Something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Give it to me now.
Would love to hear, too, like what you all think about the show in the comments or contact at uplinkpodcast.com. Let us know your feedback. I'd love to hear that, too. Like, what do you think of the Grand Inquisitor? Do you have strong opinions of it one way? Do you not care? I think it's going to take away from like my reaction to like how impactful he is going to be in the story. Like if he's threatening someone, I'm like, no, that's not it. But like, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it too. For now, until we get a little bit more details on Kenobi.
If we get more details, I almost don't want more details.
I know, right?
I'm almost good. I don't want to see anymore. Just keep me posted that it's still coming out.
Yeah.
The day they said it's coming out.
27th. Hopefully that means they fixed the Grand Inquisitor. Be great. Please.
Yes. They need those 3 days to completely
Dave Filoni's
redo.
like, hey, stop production. I need to slip Ahsoka in.
Oh, gosh. No!
Could you imagine if that's the reason why they delayed it?
Oh, my word.
It would be so good, but also terrible.
It would just be like...
Yep.
Really, guys?
Yep. Yep. But I think with that, we're going to call this episode an end. Thank you so much for listening and watching this episode of Star Wars Uplink, your source for everything Star Wars gaming and more, as we dive deeper into the shows, movies, lore, all that kind of stuff. If you liked this podcast, definitely share it with your friends or leave a review on iTunes. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. Shout out to Admiral Akbar 83 on there, who has been updating his review periodically as we ask for him. It's been great, like seeing his edits and like his thoughts on it. Like, it's been awesome. Just want to shout him out, and would love to have you all leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us out an absolute ton. When people search Star Wars podcasts or Star Wars gaming, it helps us rise to the top more. So we'd greatly appreciate that and your support there. You can follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify. Completely free. Again, like to subscribe to the show anywhere that you find podcasts is completely free. So subscribe on Apple Podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcast. I already said that right. Spotify, wherever you find podcasts, definitely you can find our show. Share it with your Star Wars fans, friends, all the places. As always, thank you again for listening, and may the Force be with you.